Hello, my name is Sarah. Nice to meet you. I create images like those you see there. I work a lot with the face and I create masks. And I'm also wearing a physical mask right now to match my images. And in this tutorial, we're going to learn how to create something like that. I got this request a lot on Instagram, so now I finally made a tutorial, and I really hope you're going to like it. You can use this technique also for other things when you want to make animations, like this eye animation, for example. It's the same technique, the same principle. I just made a looping animation of 10 seconds, and all I did there was rotate the environmental map in the scene. The rest is the same as you will learn today. And for the purpose of this tutorial, I created a new mask. So we are going to make this image, this kind of mask today. If you want to use exactly the same image, I posted a link where you can download this image. It's just from Pinterest. I also added a credit of the photographer in the description. So open Blender. We delete everything. And we're going to add a new camera. Here in the camera data, we take background images, add image, and then here you add the image you want to work with. I found this image of a girl at the beach. Just I thought it was nice. Just choose an image that you find inspiring to work on. Can be really anything. I work with faces, so I usually choose an image with a face. So I added this image in the camera, and now if you press 0, you can see it like that. The aspect ratio is off, so we need to change that. At the resolution, I mean, and so we need to go to the image and see it's 3264 by 4928. Yeah, it looks much better. Then we're also going to check for the where is it? Focal length. Yeah, here the focal length 35 millimeters. So we go back to the camera. 35. Okay, that's the basic setup. Then I'm gonna open another Blender once more, because what we need now is a head mesh. So I have this add-on installed called Face Builder. It basically creates a 3D head for you that you can adjust to whatever head you have or whatever image you're using by just adding images. Sorry, I'm gonna turn off this phone. And it's not for free, so this is just to speed it up. Basically, I'm using it to speed up the process, but you can also do this just with any kind of 3D head mesh. But in Face Builder, if you have it, you just add your image that you want to work with, and then place the landmark points, pins you're liking, and adjust it. So I'm gonna do this now a little bit, so I'm going to speed up the tutorial. Okay, so now I place the pins to my liking. In Face Builder, you can also generate a texture onto the mesh from the image you're using, which I like to do just to start up on it, but you don't really need that either if you don't have Face Builder. It's just for me to speed up the process. So basically now I just have a head mesh with the projected texture on it of the image, and it already has sort of the right facial proportions. So I'm just gonna copy this now into my actual project. And this is actually where you would start placing this head onto your scene if you don't have face builder. So you would just take any face mesh and just try to place it as closely as possible to your image. This is where the focal length is also really important, that you check with the image you're having what focal length it is. So now I'm gonna speed up the tutorial again, because this is again just trying to place this head as closely as possible to the image. Okay, that was a little bit back and forth, but I think this is positioned okay, but of course it's not great yet. So now I'm going into sculpt mode. I usually just use the grab tool and just for the head here, make it quite big, just place it much more precisely around the head. So this is once again just slow and a little bit, well, I find it very relaxing, but it can be a very time-consuming process, so I'm just going to speed it up again. Okay, so I placed a little bit better, but I find this way of placing sometimes a little bit difficult to see what you're actually doing. So, and this is where the texture comes in handy, but the texture projected from the face builder add-on I'm using is not really great. It's also really low resolution, and it never really fits that nice. It also has these black edges. I don't know if there's anything to be done about that, but for me, it's just, I use another way. So in shading, so this is the texture that face builder has created, which we're going to change now to the image of the girl we are working on. So now the image is projected on the face mesh, but it's distorted because we need to add a UV projection modifier, and we're going to select our camera. And then in the X and Y aspect, we need to add again here our dimensions. So 3264. Wrong one. In the X and the Y, 4928. Okay, now it fits and looks much better and has all the detail in it. And now what I like, why I do this is because now I can see much better where the face mesh doesn't line up at all yet with the actual image. So next step once again is sculpting for me now to add these, make this a bit more neat. So I'm going to speed up again. Okay, so I made it now much more neat, but of course the level of preciseness on this totally depends on you. If you want to be really precise, you can also of course add all the piercings with the same steps. You make a little piercing mesh and project the texture on it, for example, if you like. You can subdivide the head surface so the mesh is more dense. And then you can sculpt much more precise and go really into all the little cracks and skin folds. For this purpose now, it's okay for me like this. Anyways, this mesh is for me just a visualization of what I'm going to do next. So I like to have the texture projected on it, But actually, in the end, we are going to, here in the object properties, we are only going to use it as a shadow catcher. And for that, we need to go to cycles. So in the render properties, we go to cycles. And then in the object properties, the visibility, now here you have the shadow catcher, which we will turn on later. So actually the object will sort of disappear. It's just catching, literally just catching the shadow of whatever other 3D object we're going to add on top. But for now, it's for me a visualization of what I'm going to do next, which is add a 3D object that we're going to create now, or something maybe going to look like this. So I'm doing this very, very basic. I just add a plane that I rotated by 90 degrees. Simple 3D plane. And normally I would use like maybe a sketch first to understand a bit better what I want to make, but this is really like freestyle. I go into edit mode, I'm going to subdivide it, a bit smaller, and then I'm just going ahead and extruding the pieces with E, extrude, scale with S, extrude, rotate with R, scale with S, extrude, rotate with R, scale with S. So this is how I'm creating like kind of shapes, and since I don't have a sketch, I'm just using this face with the projected texture as my canvas, basically to see a little bit better what I'm actually going to do. So this just goes on and on. I'm going to speed up a little bit more because this is really just now extruding, scaling, rotating. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this in case also I want to make another piece also. Did I have it twice? So now this piece I'm going to subdivide it. Then I'm going into edit mode. I'm going to press 3 so I can see it from the side. So now I just see it, selected everything with A, side, then extrude it, scale it, extrude it, and scale it down again. So now we have this more actually 3D looking like piece. And I'm also going to shade it smooth. And because I'm a very visual person, I need to see things a little bit better. I'm going to give it a material with a metallic value, so I can see the edges more. I'm going to add another bit more subdivision, and now I'm going to I'm also going to add a mirror modifier, totally optional. I just like when things are symmetrical, so I'm just going to place it a little bit closer to the face. Okay, then now the next part is done however you prefer. I like to start in edit mode with the, if you press O, this is switching on the, not sure what you call it, proportional editing. Yeah, I really like proportional editing because it really gives you like this kind of easy movability of the 3D objects, and it makes it kind of organic. So next, this is just the design process already with the normal G button and rotation button, and with the O proportion editing. I'm just dragging this piece around the face to my liking, totally just now designing. I'm going to speed up again in a second, but what I will be doing during the speeding up is also in the sculpt mode, I'm going to be using the smooth sculpt tool and smooth out these this object a little bit already, like that, just a bit, and probably also going to use the snake hook, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't think I used it last time actually, because with that you can really drag it nicely and it gives like this completely abstract stuff. Actually, that's kind of cool. Maybe I'll leave it, but I'm gonna speed up a little bit and just create my design. Okay, so I actually duplicated this original piece and just edited it once more and changed it a little bit. I also still have this original piece here. I don't think I'm going to use it right now, so I'm just going to turn this visibility and render off of it and just work with these two pieces now. Of course, I could do this endlessly till I'm completely satisfied with the placement and everything, but let's just move on to what I usually do next. Now what I usually do after I'm kind of satisfied with the design is I'm setting up the scene a little bit nicer and the lighting. So now if we go in the render mode, it's completely dark. So we go here in the world properties, and one way we can do this is use the pimpet and just select the background color. So now the lightning sort of fits to the original image, plus adding some light sources like area lights or potentially the sun. I don't do that much because I really like the reflections of HDRI maps. Although HDRI maps, of course, don't fit exactly with the image lighting, the image you're using, but I just really think it's a quite nice and easy way to make something look good. If you just go here on this yellow button and press environmental texture, then I have a whole array of HDRI maps on my computer that I all downloaded for free from Polyheaven. And I think for this image I had used the Umhlanga Sunrise. Yeah, I think that's the one I used. And it looks already quite amazing for such little effort actually. So now I'm going to continue working a bit more on these 3D pieces. So what I did with this image to create this kind of texture, there's obviously many ways to do this, but what I like to do is add the displace modifier. You press new and then you go here to the textures and you add, for example, the cloud texture. I'm going to scale it down or up, let's see. It's a bit rough because the subdivision needs to be higher and the mirror also needs to move to the last, so it's symmetrical on both sides. I don't think I used the cloud one, I think I used the wood. I probably used the wood one. Did I use it? Let's see, which one did I use? I used wood. I used wood and then probably changed the strength and played with this. Yeah. It's obviously a different mesh, a different piece, so the outcome is a little bit different. But this is how you can create quite easily some cool textured surfaces like this one. Yeah, or like if you want it to look watery, or here this is a really noisy one. But let's just stay with the wood for now. Then you can select this one and the other one, and then Control L and the copy modifier. Oops, that was the wrong way around. So first this one, then this, and then copy modifier. So now the modifiers are copied. In the shading, well, no, actually, let's split the window like this. So here we have the render view. That now. And here we have the shading. And here in the shader editor, we see this material here is pretty basic, really nothing, just high metallic value and a bit of roughness. And actually, I think I want to edit this a little bit further, because even though this is a tutorial, I do like when things look nice. So I think I'm just gonna maybe play a little bit more with the settings and the placement till I find something that I find more interesting. Now I think this is a little bit more interesting to work on. Sometimes I work on these things for weeks till I'm really satisfied, especially when it's also on my own stuff. But this will do for now, I think. So now I'm just gonna play a little bit with the material settings, although this looks kind of cool, I must say, but just to show you some things I like to do. So one thing I like to do is add a little bit of texture. I mean, this already kind of has texture from the decimate modifier, but I'm going to add some more. So we're going to add the Voronoi texture, the math, multiply, and bump map, normal, here, here, and here. Scale quite big. Now it has this strength. I'm gonna turn this down. So now it has a little bit of this surface, maybe it's a bit too. Yeah, it also depends on the mesh. I didn't UV unwrap this either now, so there's different options, but it's just a quick way of adding a little bit of extra texture. I actually kind of like it that it is like this random texture. It's all a bit uneven, like it's more organic. So it's just a little detail. I think it does add something to it. And here I don't like that this is overlapping with the other piece too much. Okay, a little better. Don't like now that this is going out of the screen. Good look. Yeah. It's just a little bit too strong. Okay, anyway. Okay, so I think this looks pretty good already. Then another thing I like to do in the shader, just to quickly give it a little bit of a more interesting look, although there's millions of options, I like to add a little bit of subdivision, subsurface, a little bit, to give it a bit more of an organic look. And whatever color you add here is sort of what shines through the piece. If you make it really high, oh, we need to turn on the metallic value, because with the metallic value it doesn't really work. Yeah, so now you can see it's like the main color is white, but this orange subsurface is coming through slightly, giving it this sort of soft, more organic look. But this is way too much for me. This is just, I just want a little bit. And then we can change the color. Really totally whatever you like, something that looks kind of nice and just, or let's just leave it with white. Looks actually quite nice. I'm gonna add a little bit more metallic. I want some shine, a little bit less roughness. Totally what you want. Okay, let's say we're happy with this one. I might change it a little bit up later, but to get this tutorial going. So now there's different ways of rendering it, because actually we're already at this point where you can render it. Of course, you can go still in the compositor and add some glare or some other kind of elements here to make the final render look better. I actually use later on Affinity, it's like Photoshop, to enhance it a bit. As well, a good tip that you could do is in the camera, you could play with the depth of field. If you have an image that has a lot of depth of field, actually you can see the waves here are super blurry, so there's definitely some depth of field in there. But I'm also going to add this in Affinity in Photoshop. This is really the basic setup, but it already works. So now, if we're rendering this right now, like this, in the render settings, we're just gonna put it on 10. And I like to add in the color management, medium contrast for the filmic. And now it would render everything, also the background and the head itself as well. But I don't want any of this. I just want to render those elements I added. So in the head, here in the object properties, for the visibility, I'm going to add shadow catcher. So now it just catches the shadow, but it won't be rendered. And the background, for that we go here in the render properties, film transparent. So now it will only render the 3D objects. Okay, the render is done. So we've rendered the 3D mask we've just made, and it also has the shadows in it. So I'm gonna save as, make sure it's a PNG. Then we go into Affinity or Photoshop, whatever you have is pretty much the same, and edit it there further. So we take the original image and the rendered image and just place them on top. Already looks pretty good, it doesn't need that much work, but what I usually do, just duplicate your things, what I usually do is just I add maybe a little bit of adjustments with the levels, just to get it it feels a little bit more natural. But normally, yeah, just a little bit. And what I usually also do is I add a little bit of noise. So just a little bit more noise, so somehow it makes it just feel more natural. And then what I also do, I add a little bit of now the depth of field blur. So that also always makes it look more realistic. So of course you should match that with the actual original image. But yeah, I just edited afterwards a little bit, but the main part is really happening inside Blender. So this is one way how you can create an image like this. And another way, if you don't want to go afterwards into Photoshop or Affinity, if you don't feel like doing that, what you can of course also do is render it with the head. So we turn here in the object properties, turn the shadow catcher off. And then, for example, what I used to do a lot in the beginning is I add a little bit of metallic value to the head. So now the head has also this kind of shine. I think if you do that, you really should make a very neat 3D mesh that really fits to the image, because now here in the eyes and everything is a little bit weird looking, and you don't have the nice reflections here in the eye folds, which you normally should have if your skin was metallic. All depends on how detailed you want to go. And then, for example, also if you want to go a bit more abstract and go a bit more away from the original image, you could also add a plane. I'm going to rotate it by 90. I'm going to put it behind, scale it up a little bit. Now a plane behind her that we could give also an interesting color. I don't know, pink maybe. And now it's a completely different look. Like it's now this kind of head in this kind of sci-fi environment. Of course, you could duplicate those. You could duplicate those and add it also more into the scene if you want to make something more abstract like that. I think it would be nice when you add something in the background like this to actually in the camera play with the depth of field, to actually already add some blur in the back of this image. Yeah, and that's it. That's one way of creating these images. And now if you render this out, just the whole scene will render. Then it's a bit more difficult to edit it in Photoshop. Of course, you always have the option to render them also separately by enabling or disabling the shadow catcher or hold out. Hold out, for example, can be interesting if you want to just render this object without the shadows. If you want to render the shadows separately after that as well, you can do that. Thanks for watching the tutorial. I appreciate it. I hope you learned something, and I also wanted to thank some other artists that you should definitely look up and follow for some more tips and other ways of creating what we've learned today. Definitely check out Nengo. He's amazing. His skills are next level. I wanted to thank Nina Hawkins. She's absolutely an amazing digital artist, and she also photographed this image, which is one of my favorite pieces that I've created. And also wanted to thank the one and only Ines Alpha, who has inspired me to start this journey sort of in the first place. So thank you, everyone.